also Kathy Swoboda, my wife. And their parents and siblings, Elizabeth John, who passed away last February, and Dr. Benjamin John, who sends his love and remembrances from Port Huron, Michigan. Rebecca's brother, Dr. Rajiv John, and his wife Tina and their children send their love and remembrances from Detroit, Michigan. Kathy's parents, Ed and Easthild, and Kathy's sister Barbara and her husband Eric and their 3 children also send their love and remembrances from the Washington, D.C. area. Sindhu was Nana to her grandchildren. Katrina is here, Jesse, Julia, and Grace. And Roger is here with his wife, Monica. Also here are Sindhu's great-grandchild, Eliana, who is up here.
Hi.
Hi, Eliana.
You gonna come join us?
Roger and Monica, her Nana in late September, and they first connected at that time, just for a weekend. A few weeks later, as Nana just entered hospice on December 2nd, we had a FaceTime visit with Roger and his family. And Eliana, demonstrating a child's unique ability to spread incredible joy just with a few words, immediately recognized her great-grandmother during a FaceTime visit and lovingly cried out, "Nana." And that connection is there forever. That was just less than 2 weeks before Nana's passing. Sindhu passed away peacefully December 15th at her cottage here at the V at the age of 90 years, 2 months, and 5 days. Milan Dar will now speak words from his grandmother, Nana's big sister, Sindhu's big sister, Krishna Roy.
Thank you, Pat. So, as Pat mentioned, I'm going to say some words from my grandmother, Krishna, who is Sindhu's sister. There's nobody remaining who I have known longer, nor has known me as long as my baby sister, Sindhu. Even though she was 5 years younger, Sindhu was always ahead of me. I have been devastated by her passing, but I guess I should not be surprised that she has even preceded me into getting into heaven. Her precociousness persists. Sindhu and I were inseparable from the date of her birth to the moment I left our town for college. We went everywhere together, played together, ate together, learned together, conspired together, slept in the same room, giggled together, and cried together. Her empathy was evident from her youngest days. I remember when she would bring home every stray animal she feared would have no home, from kittens to to frogs, and I was recruited into helping feed, hide, and protect them. Of course, that meant we were disciplined together by our older siblings or parents, never mind which of us was at fault. We were so inseparable, we were treated as one. We shared joys, mischief, fun, and sorrow, and learned so much, always side by side. Even if I was taller and older, and she was always tiny and youthful, it was clear for me from the get-go that Sindhu's mental abilities far exceeded mine. When she was 5 and I was 10, we were so attached that she didn't want to go to her own schoolroom. So under special dispensation of the headmaster, she was permitted to attend my classes. We held hands to and from school. All my friends adopted her as their little sister, and of course, sitting quietly in my classes, she absorbed everything that she was taught. By the time she was 7, she could recite the times table so quickly and accurately that she barely stopped to breathe. When I graduated to middle school, Sindhu was not permitted to accompany me, But so ahead was she already in her knowledge. She advanced beyond her grade, and we soon ended up in the same middle school together for a couple of years. Those times make up some of my fondest memories. At one point, my mother inscribed both of us to the Academy of Cultural Arts in our town for dance and music lessons. I was no good at singing, and she did not find dance very interesting, so we took to our own skill. At the annual recital, nervous about her performance, I remember her reluctance to enter stage alone. She made her way to the stage, placed her favorite doll on stage beside her, and sang as loudly as she could to the doll, not the audience. Her musical plea was to ask God to let her grow up so that she could help her family, friends, neighbors, and dolls. My parents in the wings had tears rolling down their cheeks. She got several recalls and got over her hesitance to perform. Never again did she show any reluctance to win over any audience, a mark of her sincerity and zeal. Poor Sindhu inherited all my hand-me-downs. I remember that instead of being disappointed, she felt bad that I couldn't use them anymore. She consoled me that when she grew up, she would make sure I got all her grown-up dresses and shoes. That was my baby sister, always kind, considerate, prone to thinking the best of others, helpful and generous. It was heartbreaking for me to have to leave home for college, but letters and news from our siblings kept us always close. We were not just sisters, but confidants and lifelong friends. I ultimately moved to the US and married while Sindhu was evolving her medical skills. It was an immense and welcome relief when we were finally reunited in the States when she moved in the late 50s, by which time she too was married. Even after so many years apart, reuniting with my sister felt like coming home. In fact, no matter where my work took me and my family abroad, Sindhu and Ram's dwelling was always open to us and felt like home. Countless times we deposited our daughters with the ever-welcoming couple for sometimes months at a time. Sindhu treated my kids with the openness, wisdom, generosity, discipline, and encouragement that she gave her own. Evidence that even as a grown adult, Sindhu continued to take in strays. Sindhu's enthusiasm, caring, smarts, optimism, and generosity sustained me for 90 years. Her passing has truly dimmed the light in my life. I pray for God's special care for you, my lifelong buddy and little sister Sindhu. May the heavens exalt in your excellent company, and may your soul rest in perfect peace.
So our mom was born in Bagalkot, India. She was the youngest of 6 children born to Shivrao and Ratna Nayampally. After meeting in medical school, Sindhu and Ramnath did their medical residencies in New York in the late 1950s, after which they found themselves in Montreal for 6 years. Sindhu's friend, Elma Shastri, recently wrote, "Our friendship goes back almost 59 years to April 17th, 1965, when my husband Hari and I immigrated to Canada on a whim and a prayer. Sindhu's family met us at the Montreal's Dorval Airport. It was the beginning of a friendship that continued through the years and will forever. I love Sindhu like a sister. We shared our lives in Montreal with trips every weekend in summer and a long visit to Niagara Falls, visited Sanath and Kunda in States College, and went to the Big Apple. On weekends, we used to drive across the US-Canada border to Plattsburgh Lake, enjoy the beach, shop till we drop, have dinner at the Howard Johnson's, at that time their famous New England clam chowder and clam roll, and then on for a drive-in movie, and reach home in the early morning hours in Montreal. Golden memories of beautiful times with even more beautiful friends who'd come to mean so much to us. I shall forever miss her forever, though I will move on, sadly. My auntie Elma was able to speak to my mother on her 90th birthday on October 10th this year. And when I spoke to her this last month, she wanted us to also share these words that my daughter, my mother's namesake, Julia Sindhu Nayak, will speak to you.
As I sit in heaven and watch you every day and try to let you know I have not gone away, I watch you as you sleep and calm you while you weep. Heaven is truly beautiful. Just you wait and see. So live your life, laugh again, enjoy yourself, be free. Then I know with every breath you take, you'll be taking one for me.
I want to thank Mary Keener, our harpist. Beautiful music she will play on after this ceremony. Sindhu and Ram emigrated to America in 1968, leaving Montreal to settle for 6 years in Omaha, Nebraska, with my brother and me. We first rented a house near the amusement park, Peony Park, for 2 years. Guess who decided on that house? Not my parents. After 2 years, we moved to where my parents built their first home on 109th Street. There, they hosted many friends and relatives from 1970 to 1974, including Ram's siblings and their families, including our cousins Vanita, Sangeeta, and Arun, who stayed with their parents, Venkatesh and Ajita. Sindhu's wonderful sister-in-law, Ajita, passed away in 2019. Anand, Ram's youngest brother, came to the U.S. and lived with us for over a year during the Omaha days. Anand passed away last year and is survived by Padmini in Milwaukee. Also in Milwaukee is Suchita Nayak, Sindhu's sister-in-law, and her husband Vish, as well as Vikram and Kavita, their children, as well as their grandchildren. They all send their love and their remembrances from Milwaukee. Sindhu and Ram welcomed Suchita when she came to the U.S. One of the most lasting memories for me personally is my mom looking beautiful and divinely radiant at Suchita and Vish's New York City wedding in the 1970s. Krishna's daughters, our cousins, Supriya and Sujoya, lived with us for a time in Omaha. Sujoya is now in Portugal at the U.S. Embassy, and she sends her love and remembers from there. Supriya, would you like to come up? Here also, of course, with Milan, whom you heard from, and unfortunately, Anjali, their daughter, lives in rainy Portland, and her flight was canceled this morning.
In Eugene.
She lives in Eugene. I think she was flying for Portland. Go ahead.
With me as well. Memory of her was when I was age 9 and the Nayak family But she also knew how to step back and relax, to stop. She made it a point to slow down when we visited, take time to chat, to catch up, and to take us on outings for her favorite activity, shopping for fun girl things. She was attuned, I felt, to the special little delights in life for girls. She had 2 wonderful sons, but she lamented not being able to shop for the little girls. So, as often as possible, she would slip away with us nieces, shopping for a special treat. I felt like she got as much pleasure in buying the brightest, prettiest, whatever I liked, and often extravagant items, even if I protested. Money was no object for her when it came to girls shopping. And the outing was always exhilarating, even if I had pangs of guilt later on. Some of the most special items I have in my home and in my closet, I can never give away, came from Auntie Sindhu. There were periods of life and times that my sister and I spent, as you heard earlier, in Omaha. Once more, the family shared their home openly, and Pat and Neil tolerated yet another invasion by the girl cousins for the duration of the school semester or the summer. And they had us tag along to all their summer camps, to the pool, and to elementary school with them. Meanwhile, Sindhu Pachi was always nurturing to the 2 little girls, the strays, who she had inherited for the summer or for the school year. I remember her driving the largest station wagon I had ever seen, the Ford Grand Torino Squire. She was the smallest person behind the wheel. She could barely peer over the wheel, but she drove that car perfectly. And one day she announced to us that she needed to have the car washed. And we thought, as has happened in India or in Latin America, that meant that there would be some help, human help, washing the car. Instead, terrifying to both Sujoy and I, we were exposed to the American drive-through car wash. I think both Sujoy and I were in tears, convinced that the water was going to gush inside and we were all going to drown. We had a good laugh later, and Auntie reassured us that she wouldn't ever expose us to harm. And she absolutely kept her word throughout our childhoods. When we all moved to the US and we were grown up and we had families of our own, we would gather for Christmas in Virginia Beach, where she regaled us with special housewares. As I rediscovered this year while decorating for Christmas, most of the special tableware and so many other lovely trinkets in our home were gifts from her. Sindhu gave us her undivided attention, whether in person or over the phone, as most of our recent conversations had become. She always asked about every family member, my husband's side, my side, the extended family, and she listened intently and made us feel like we were the only important figure in her life. Dear Auntie, you were the epitome of calm. You were born with grace, and you offered grace to those in your midst, whether family, neighbors, friends, or your kids, patients. You lent a ready hand to me and others. You patiently listened. You offered counsel or treatment, whatever we needed, often both, to each of us. You delighted in pampering and making others happy. You were such an example of pure, essential love and generosity. Today I know that though you have departed in human form, you will always be by my side and in my heart. I feel your presence today, and when I'm in need of advice, of support, of offering generosity, I ask myself, what would Sindhu Pachi say? What would she do in this moment? Thank you.
I don't know what I did with my water. So in 1974, our family moved to Virginia, where Sindhu lived for 34 years, working at the Naval Amphibious Base in Norfolk and caring for thousands of children while raising Pat and me. In Virginia, my parents welcomed and hosted our Uncle Jagannath, who married Smitha and was the father of Megha and Chaya, who send their love and remembrances. Our Uncle Jagannath passed away in 2011.
In Virginia Beach, our parents made many friends. They helped a number of doctors begin their practices in Virginia Beach. Dr. Guna Panigrahi and Veena wrote that Sindhu and Ram were dedicated to family, friends, profession, and the Virginia Beach community at large, setting an unparalleled example of life and living. Madhukar Kaloji from Virginia Beach wrote, Dr. Mrs. Nayak was a very accomplished yet very polite, gracious, and loving auntie to each and every person she met. Raji and I were touched soon after moving to Virginia Beach to be hosted by Sindhu and Ram at their beautiful Wishart Drive home. Kathy and I remember our visits to the Wishart Drive house in Virginia Beach. We lived in Washington, D.C., and it wasn't too far away. Our children, Roger, Katrina, and Jesse, came with us, and we have many memories of that beautiful home. Roger, Katrina, and Jesse will come up.
Nana was always such a central and important part of our lives, as long as, since we were born. Before she lived in Denver, she lived in Virginia Beach, and we grew up outside the DC area and drove down about 3 hours to see her every couple of months, and that was always the highlight, I think, of our year. Such an important time. She was a loving, generous grandmother, as everyone has said, just an amazing human to know and just to learn about her life story. I mean, it's not something that we can replicate, we can only learn from it, and she's such a big part of us and our lives. Not only that, she made amazing pancakes that we, had every time we visited, and we just had so much fun there, and so much fun with her and spending time with her, and we're just really going to miss her, and are so sad that she's gone.
In 2008, my parents moved here to the V and Highlands Ranch to retire and to travel the world. And until my father's illness beginning in 2012, they did travel to nearly every continent in the world. For the next 3 years, once my father was ill, my mother Sindhu was constantly at my father's side until his passing, divinely demonstrating her love and devotion. Here in Denver, my mother Sindhu has been Nana to Grace and Julia till the time that they were born, and Grace has a poem for us.
When I remember Nana, I think of many things: her generosity, her strength, her kindness, her dedication, her hard work, and her love. Nana was my role model, and she gave me something I can hold on to no matter the circumstance: hope. I would like to share a poem that will always remind me of her. Hope is a Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. And the sweetest in the gale is heard, and sower must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, but yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.
This is to you.
Here with us today is Monisha Sashito with her son Nikhil. Last year, Monisha's father, Sanat, our mom's nephew, passed away, our cousin. He was a brilliant physicist in the satellite industry who had an amazing sense of humor and demonstrated to all of us his love of life, spreading goodwill and laughter. His wife Kunda sends her love and remembrances from Santa Rosa, California. Earlier, I introduced Supriya, and I wanted to thank Supriya, and Neil also wants to thank Supriya for the time she spent when my mom was very ill. Maya Alve is also here, and she came to spend time with my mom as she entered a hospice. Maya is Sanat's sister, and she's here with her son, Salil. Vijay, Maya's husband, sends his love and remembrances from New Jersey.
So Sindhu was one of the original residents of the V here in Highlands Ranch. She was living here now for 15 years. And during those years, she made many friends and participated in a great many good causes. I would ask if anyone is interested in speaking, please come on up. And then, of course, we also have that in the last year of her life, she was fortunate to have just an amazing amount of care from outstanding physicians and also from the service, the Visiting Angels. They kept her company and assisted in her daily needs following her initial decline in her health and the surgery that she had in 2022. Our thanks and gratitude to her surgeons, Danny, radiologist, oncologist, Dr. Mira Patel, oncologist, Dr. Manoj Mupathy, nephrologist, Dr. Samir Basaria, and so many others that were part of her care. And so I think we'll wrap it up. Is there?
We want to thank all of you for coming. You're welcome to stay. They tell me that around 4:30, you will be outnumbered by those eating dinner. So take your time. Thank you all for coming. Oh, and I want to thank Troy Warwick, who is streaming live for us around the world. Thank you. Also, Hannah Watson, who put the slideshow together. Neil and I never found a way to connect our slides, so thank you, Hannah, for figuring that out. And as